Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Out. My name is Charles McGillivray, and as always, I'm joined by Simon Stacey and Jess Kebble. We're a fans podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints. How are you both doing?
Good, thank you.
How you doing? Sorry, I think you're on mute there, mate.
I am on mute. Sorry, yes, I was. I'm good, thank you, mate.
Good. How do you find Friday night?
Yeah. Roller coaster, wasn't it? Typical Saints. Back to a bit of the old Saints where they're like, oh, what they doing? And they just managed to do what they've been doing for the last month or few months. Just dig in and get a result, and a really good result in the end. Some of those performances were top class. We will talk about that in a minute, I'm sure.
Definitely, yeah. What did you think, Jess?
I mean, the first 30 minutes? Actually, probably the whole first half was abysmal. I'm sure they probably agree. But it was strange. I was watching it at home, and I remember saying to my mum, even when we were 19-0 down, I was like, we'll still win this. Like, I still genuinely thought that.
You were that confident?
Yeah,
more confident
genuinely.
than me at that point.
Yeah.
I think because when we'd had ball in hand, I was, other than a few like essentially passes that didn't go to hand here and there, we were very threatening. So I was like, when it clicks, and I never doubted it would click at some point. I said, I think we'll easily be able to go on and win. So yeah, I wasn't really that worried at 19-0 down, strangely. Maybe because it's not the first time that Saints have done this and they've managed to get themselves out of the hole. But I was like, oh yeah, they'll be able to. I was like, we did have, both on paper and on the pitch, a much stronger team than they did. And I figured it would come to tell eventually, and it did. It didn't mean it made the first half any easier to watch, certainly, because we were, in some parts we really were dreadful. But then, once we kind of got the ball rolling, once we scored those tries after like half an hour, and were able to kind of put passages of play together, it was pretty much kind of a no-brainer as to who was going to be the winner at the end, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. The opposition made a big factor there because you always felt that they were a young, inexperienced team. There were some good, promising performances, but you always felt that there was going to they would struggle to lock it out. If you put them under pressure, they weren't going to have long spells of defensive dominance, etc. And there were opportunities. We just kept making mistakes. And I think when they interviewed Vesti, he said they just looked clunky or rusty is the word he said, isn't it? Like, they just, it sort of wasn't quite clicking, but you sort of felt, well, when they got the ball and they went forward, they actually marched up the pitch relatively well. It wasn't like there was a huge amount of resistance, so you sort of thought they could go score and get back in the game. And there was some, even when we were not playing well in the first half, whatever, and we can get into that, but there were still some really good performances out even in that first half an hour. I thought Archie McParland was pretty much good from minute one to the end of the game. He was, till he went off, he was outstanding.
Yeah, he's insane, that boy. He's only 20, so we've definitely got a ready-made replacement for Mr. Mitchell when he wants to retire. Crikey. And obviously we've got Wyman as well. He came on at the end. And we're not forgetting James. James doesn't even seem to be mentioned anymore, does he, bless him?
It wasn't Wyman that came on. It was Aidan Pugh, wasn't it?
Oh, didn't he? I did, yes. I'm sorry, it was, yeah. Sorry, yeah. My bad.
Because Johnny Wyman was with the England under-20s, wasn't he?
Right, okay.
Yeah, but it shows you like the depth of the amount of depth that squad still looked really good, despite the fact that we had the under-20s away. The England A it was only Hendy in the end, but he was away. All the England boys, which is countless numbers. Two Scots weren't involved. Italian was playing for Italy, and also the injuries we've got as well. Like, to still be able to put out that side. I said before the game, actually, I said, well, like, I feel the complete opposite in terms of confidence to what I did going into the Leicester game, in the sense of we'd put out this side essentially against a very strong sort of Leicester side, and I didn't think we'd get the result that we were going to get. I sort of felt the exact opposite. I thought, well, we've gone pretty strong Quins have got a pretty young side out. We should definitely be winning this. So we're probably going to lose. I thought like it's the exact opposite. So the exact
Yeah.
opposite will probably happen.
You still got a few rested as well, haven't you? JJ rested. I'm trying to think who played and who didn't play. There's still
Well, yeah,
quite a few.
the clear starters. JJ, Hemini, Pearson, Chick,
Yeah,
except those players who
on
um
top of the
have played a lot of
internationals.
rugby. Yeah, yeah. But then you go through the side and you think, well, it's still remarkable. And I thought the two centres. I mean, Lichwood went off. They're obviously resting in. Well, no, they're managing his minutes and his return to play,
Yeah.
etc. But when the two of them were on, but then also Tame throughout, they were excellent. They really were. I thought they were standout performers other than McParland.
Yeah, totally agree. Toby Tame's just getting better and better with every game you see him, doesn't he? He's massively improved over the summer, and he's put a bit of bulk on as well. So we just keep producing them. I don't know what they're feeding him at the Gardens, but it's something amazing. To be fair, because God, yeah, it's
Well, the
just
son of a
mad.
former Cup final Saint as well, isn't he? His father's played for Saints and the Centres. We actually finished the game with three sons of former players on the pitch because Ollie was obviously playing.
Yeah, who's the third one?
Uh, the young 17-year-old
Yeah,
Lewis, his
Lewis,
his
yeah.
father played for Saints as well. So we actually
yeah.
finished we finished with three former sons of playing son.
That says it all, though, doesn't it? That you got 17-year-old. I think they said he was the second youngest ever debutant for Saints, and he
Yeah.
absolutely smashed his first touch. He absolutely smashed their seven, put him on his bottom. It was hilarious. He looks like a decent player as well. It's just mad.
Yeah,
Like I said,
Lauday's
whatever
no
Hoppers.
joke.
Pardon?
Their seven was Lauday. He's a
That's what I
first
mean.
team
Yeah,
player for Quins.
yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah, he's like one of their big players. You just think he absolutely mullered him, put him down on his bum, and he just went straight through him. But yeah, wow, it's crazy.
I think, yeah, I think to go to that point, when we were rusty, we weren't particularly playing well, and I thought that comes out in a number of ways. I think, yeah, like the mess up of the pass and to Ollie, for example, when he had a run in, the sort of butchering of that opportunity, that was partly just like skill execution in terms of the pass wasn't quite perfect, but it was also sort of decision making as well. Like he pumped the pass when he should have just given it to him. And that sort of decision making was rusty as well as the skill execution. And
Yeah,
there's a number of occasions where we just did the wrong thing at the wrong time, and it came back to bite us a few times. But I would also put credit on Quins. I thought they started really strong, fired up at home, and their halfbacks I thought were excellent. I have so much praise for Jamie Benson. I think he's quality. He's I really think he's going to be a player. And I think there was a moment when we were linked with him and we ended up getting Tony Bellew. And Tony Bellew's a good player and rate him, and I think he's fitted in really well. And the performance against Quins was great and everything. But part of me thinks, well, wow, imagine that Jamie Benson, how good he would be under Vesti's coaching.
yeah. He did look good. He was up for man of the match as well, even though they lost, weren't he? So it shows how good he played.
Well, his kicking game was what was light years ahead of us. I think he put them around the pitch really well. His short little cross kicks were excellent. Is kicking out, for touch and everything. I think his kicking game, he probably outplayed Tony Bellew in that instance, especially that first half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good game to watch, wasn't it? All over, and I was like shocked though when I was at work and I was like, wow, we're going to get absolutely battered here. I thought it was 19-0, and then like to come back like they did. Yeah, the boys did really well, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what they're feeding them. If we're putting 17-year-olds on the pitch now, it's absolutely insane. We'll probably be the first team to put out a 15 that have all come through the academy. The way we're going,
Yeah,
it's just mad.
that's an interesting point, right? Because our academy is praised really, really a lot, and Hugo Monyo, I think, was quoted quite a bit, and you've seen it all over socials of, we've probably got the best academy, or we do it better than anyone else, whatever he said, etc. And I think that is true, although I think we could do more. I think you look at the Leinsters or the Crusaders or whoever it may be, some of those really big, they just put everyone in their teams comes out of their academy, right? So I think there's levels still to push.
You say that, but they're like provinces. We're a tiny little town, so I know what you mean. But
Yeah, but we have a region assigned to
yeah,
us as
yeah, I suppose.
as a development area. Like it's
Yeah, I
got
suppose we do.
it's got quite a lot of people in that region. How many people are in? A couple of million people in Leinster. There's probably a couple of million people in our region or
Yeah, because it
our
goes all the way out to Ipswich, doesn't it? I forgot about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think obviously we have other challenges, such as we're probably competing with football more than the Irish provinces, but then they're competing with the all Irish sports as well. So, but there's all sorts going on. But either way, I think we could produce more, albeit I still think we have the best academy in the league. But then I also think it's not just the academy. When you look at the makeup of the side that played against Quins, there's a lot of players in that squad that aren't academy produced, but have been picked up from maybe the lower leagues or
Yeah.
from the end of London Irish or the end of Wasps or players that are sort of around the Premiership for a long time but haven't necessarily been top draw or playing every week. But they've come into the environment at Northampton. They've got better and they're delivering and quality. Like someone like West or Walker have been around the Premiership for a long time. They are potentially third choice, fourth choice in our pecking order, but they had so much quality and ability. And or you look at someone like Green. He obviously fell out of the London Irish system, went to America for a bit. Munger, Benson came from Luctonians. Olcock. We can't claim he's an academy product. We signed him from Australia. Brown. All these players. Kakasau came from Glasgow. All these players. They're just as good as the academy is. You've got to also credit the scouting network and the deals that Paul Shield does in terms of picking up these individuals who are coming in, adding to the environment, but also getting better. They come here, they want to improve. Miller Mills is a really, really good example of he comes to us, you could on the verge of potentially giving up the game, and then a year later he's an international.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The scouting is as admirable as the academy at this point,
Yeah.
I think.
I was totally thinking that when I was watching. I know we're not going to go to the England game yet, but when he came on for Scotland, he totally shore up their scrum. And I was thinking we're going to massively miss him because he's such a good scrummager. He's not that big, is he, for a tight head prop? But he's so good at his technique's amazing.
Yeah, I'll tell you his technique because I wouldn't say he's a big scrummager, and he's like, he's going to necessarily be dominant at scrum time or anything like that. But he does a job, doesn't he? He does a really
Yeah.
good job, and to be able to do it at that level as well. I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
and you've got to say congratulations to the coaches that got him there, as well as his own desire to get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a player we're going to miss though, and it was so highlighted in this game. Wow, Sam Graham.
Sam Graham. Yeah, I knew you were going to say
I knew
that.
you were going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. He came on, didn't he? He was like a firework, wasn't he? He was everywhere.
He was just a bulldozer.
Yeah. His ball carrying is just second to none, isn't it? Like he just comes on and bursts through tackles. He looked like he was playing. I know he probably in theory he probably was, but he looked like he was playing like under 11s as a full grown man. I know they had a young side out, but he made it look like that. He looked like a seasoned proper pro against people who are still making it in the game. He had a lot to do with changing the momentum.
But he's the one, like you were just saying about bringing in players. He's another one, isn't he? Brought him in and developed him and made him into a top quality back rower.
Well, it's just throughout, like Condiona, where the hell have they found him? He's an absolute monster, isn't he? Like
That
he's
was
just like
such a good performance when he came on.
he was throwing the ball around like it was
I
like
know.
who is this guy? Sonny Bill Williams.
He did
whilst
a yeah.
also
He did,
scrummaging.
he did a basketball pass at one point, and I was like, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that as a prop. Like it was crazy. And yeah, he was just throwing himself about, like like you said, like with the ball, like in defense, was just everywhere from the second he came on. Like he's going to be one of those who's going to be so fun to watch in the future as he continues to get minutes if he's going to keep, smashing his way through people like that and passing like that, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it was just an all-round good Like even the old Albanian's hooker, who was a guest player, came on and nailed his lineouts, didn't he? Like you see, England internationals aren't necessarily that good at throwing.
No.
And Joe Cowell came on. I know he's played a bit for Bedford recently, but he was on loan he's on loan from Cardiff for a short spell to cover the loose head. And he was throwing himself around. I know he gave away a penalty early doors, but that's because he was pushing and trying to sort of put a bit of pressure on him. Like he looked a half decent player as well. Like like I said, the assessment and the identification of talent to come in and add to the environment was highlighted massively. And all clubs are trying to find these players, but Saints seem to be at the moment consistently bringing them through the academy or plugging just gems that are going to come in and not necessarily be starting superstars, but are going to add quality to your training environment, add quality and experience to this team. And yeah, the only other thing I think we definitely need to cover off is I mean, James ran that
I
run.
was, I was going to say, I was going to bring that up. I was waiting for you to finish. I was going to bring that up. My God, yeah. Old Rambo does it again, doesn't he? Crikey. They said from 90 meters. I don't think it was that far, but it was still epic. It was, yeah. And then McParland's little double sidestep to put two of the
Yeah,
Quins players on the bums. Absolute quality. Yeah. Totally deserved man of the match, that boy, by the way.
yeah. We spoke about him last week, didn't we? In saying that uh, it's not necessarily a case of coming in and there isn't a pathway for him to play regularly because we've got an established first choice world class nine. But having him perform and be to the level that he is performing at gives Saints the opportunity to actually rotate in that position because he's been so good that you can trust him. You can chuck him into a Premiership game. I think we've got Newcastle first up back in the Prem. You would have no issues having Parland playing at 9 in that Newcastle game and giving Mitchell a week off or put him on the bench or whatever it may be because he's performing to such a high standard at the moment. It gives you the opportunity to do it. Whereas in the past, it's not always been the case. It's like you drop a few of the star names out the side and they can't reach that level of performance. Whereas the work they've done on developing the talent, and we're in this sort of Goldilocks moment again where we've still got these players coming through whilst we haven't quite lost the players at the top end either. And you've got such a talented squad that you can rotate and through the year. And they've done it really well in the centres, they've done it really well in the back row. But you can probably do it at 9 at the moment with the performances in McParland.
Yeah, totally. He's learning from the best, though, isn't he? That's why. Mitchell's got to be. I know DuPont's getting back to his best, but Mitchell again's just like, yeah, he's just insane.
Should we move? Do we want to move on to Mitchell and his actions at the weekend, or do we want? Is there anything we want to cover off with the Quins game first?
I think the only thing I just want to say about McParland is like he just has this like excellent ability to be like on the shoulder of whoever he needs to be on the shoulder of, like just excellent at being able to position himself exactly where he needs to be. And like yeah, they were talking, weren't they, about who they were going to make man of the match like just before he scored his third, I think. And then he did, and they were like, well, that decision's kind of quite easily made for you at that point. Although I'd argue it's still him, even before the third try, to be fair. But it was, an absolute no-brainer. And yeah, you're right. Like, like Mitch is gone a fair amount. And so it's really useful just to have not just, like you said, a good 9, but one who's playing like a seriously good level right now. But yeah, I suppose we best.
Not that we didn't have that before, to be fair. Like we're just stacked at 9
Yeah.
now. Like
Yeah.
Johnny Wyman's another
Yeah.
promising player coming through. Aidan Pugh looked a bit of a handful when he came on. Tom James is he's class, isn't he? Like he's been good for us
Yeah.
for so long. So
Yeah.
we're just stacked. But McParland is breaking away from the pack a little bit in the sense of his performances are really top draw, and he's got that, like you say, that knack of just that cheat line up the middle of the pitch, like Kobus used to do. Just constantly on that, and then that he's got the physical ability that if he gets an opportunity, he can finish it. Because there's plenty of 9s, bigger nine, say, that they might do that cheat line, but they'll get the ball and they haven't got the pace to break away and finish those opportunities. Whereas McParland, when he even showed the footwork on those two steps, he's got the ability to finish those opportunities, having taken that cheat line up the middle of the pitch, supporting an outside break. So, yeah,
I feel like his performances are actually starting to get to the level where he actually starts pushing himself into the conversation of like some of the best nines playing in England at the moment.
yeah.
Like outside of just, like he's always going to be, at least whilst Mitchell is still at the club, he's always going to be second to, and that makes sense because Mitchell is world class. But I feel like he's still got probably a bit to go, but I feel like we're not that far off. Maybe even by the end of the season, where he starts putting his name in the hat of like, oh, he's actually just a spectacular nine outside of the fact that he's probably going to be Mitchell's second for a little bit longer. Like, and so that's such a good thing to have. Like I said, he's what 20? Did they say?
He's 20.
So,
I think he's 21. I think he's the same age as Pollock, isn't he? 'Cause they were in school together.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, but either way, like hit 20 or 21, like that's a ridiculously young age to be starting to get these performances and these plaudits already. I mean, obviously, this isn't anything against like other teams or anything, but like the Prem will be a step up. That's where the tests will come for him. Really, it's like, can he keep that level up when we get into the Prem? Is he going to have the opportunity to play enough to see whether those levels stick there? But yeah, he's on such a great trajectory, and considering some of the really harsh conversations that people were having about him before, when I think even he admittedly knew he had some sort of performances that were sort of off color. But I was like, so does everyone at some point in their career. Let's be honest. I mean, it's not to say that you shouldn't necessarily criticize him, but he was getting some very, very harsh comments online. You'd think people would have learned by now. But he's been able to kind of either just ignore it and he's just gotten better naturally, or used it to fuel his progression. I don't know either way, but sometimes in a weird way, I feel like perhaps those performances that he put out that weren't as good as they should have been were almost kind of a positive thing in the end. Like it showed him where he needed to improve and where he needed to push on.
Yeah, and I think those performances have sort of been put behind him as well, because he had an unbelievable game against Quins, etc. But he's also had some unbelievable games across this season. Thinking away at Bath.
Yeah.
And beginning of the season before Mitchell came back, he was the starting nine and playing really, really, really well. So, touch wood, fingers crossed, whatever you want to say, but it's sort of like there were huge learnings for him, but he seems to have come out the other way, and hopefully the trajectory is now. There will be bumps, but trajectory is definitely upwards now.
You got to remember though.
Well, I mean, there are some.
Back then, though, back then he was not in adult terms, but he was still a kid in rugby terms, wasn't he? He was 18, 19 when he was doing them sorts of things. And I think I would have to say, I can't remember when Mitch broke through, but I think he's ahead of where Mitchell was. I don't think Mitchell was this good and getting this many games at 21, was he?
I think there was a difference when Mitchell came through, because I think we were still in the gym end of it era, and there was a lot of talent in that space, and they weren't culturally necessarily giving someone like Mitchell the opportunity, because Kobus was in the jersey, and then we had a few other players like Nick Groom, etc. Who were in, and it was always a case of, why aren't they playing Mitchell? He's absolutely the next best thing, but they're playing Groom, whatever. And even then I thought, well, Kobus is got to go, or he's got to start rotating, because they need to give Mitchell more opportunities, because he's clearly a real big prospect. Whereas now the culture is so different that you feel that every player in the squad is going to get their opportunities early. Yep. If they're good enough, they'll be given opportunities, and you're seeing that. They're really backing Tame, for example, and you're seeing the benefits of that. Litchfield's been given opportunities to develop, and he looks quality. He looks an absolute beast of a man now, if I'm being honest. But he is a physical player, and even players like Archie Benson, they're getting opportunities and they're stepping up.
A lot of the boys have put on a lot of muscle this summer. I don't know what they've been doing to them because, like Toby Tame, like I said, just for one, he's an absolute beast now. I know he's only young, but he was a lot slender before. He's absolutely massive. Like I say, Litchfield, Benson's always going to be big because he's a farmer stock. I don't know what they're feeding him. I don't know.
But you got to think, Toby Tane, this is his first real. Last year he was injured, but this is his first real year of being a professional rugby player because he did the university route as well. He didn't. He sort of blurred the lines between being a professional rugby player and a student. Whereas, he's finished his degree. He's now fully. He's had a year of properly going through that performance pathway of training with proper players, gymming, whatever it may be, and therefore he's just seeing the benefits of it. And you often see that a player, they'll come through as a real prospect, and then you won't even see him on a pitch for a year, and it's because you can't hit the gym and play.
No,
you got to balance. You can't, and you often see a player like, I won't use any of our players, but there's a good example of James Haskell, where like he sort of broke onto the scene and then disappeared for a year. It's because they told him just to hit the gym for a year, get big enough so that you can be a dominant force at that level, and then get the rugby in. It's very hard once you're playing every week to catch up physically because it takes it out of you putting in that amount of effort to get that big. You can't do that and play; it's too much. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think Lockett said it on the podcast when we had him on as well, was that he didn't expect to play as much as he did one year because he expected the year to be focused on growing, getting bigger, getting to the size to be able to compete. And I think that's what you see that with Tame. He's now bang on. He's playing every week. But...
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? Because I think you still technically grow till you're 21, don't you? So your body's not developed. So if you start doing all that too early, you can actually damage yourself. So I get it. They just have to watch what they're doing, and yeah, it's working. Whatever they're doing, it's working.
I guess one last thing to cover off before we move on to the Flower of Scotland and whatnot.
Yeah.
Just what do we think of the yellow card?
Which one?
The green yellow card.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to England then. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Back on Quins. Green yellow card. What do we think of that?
Yeah. I'm not gonna. Yeah, go, Jess, go.
No, I can't remember what it was for. There's so much rugby over the weekend. I'm like, what was it for?
Well, he attacked a breakdown and he made contact with his bicep into the Quins player's head, and it sort of compressed a bit, and unfortunately the player went off injured. I think around that sort of compression around the neck, but the referee gave it for like a no arms hit, but it wasn't. It was literally his bicep hitting his head, and the TMO. I don't know, for that first period, you sort of felt, hang on, what's going on here? Because he keeps coming in with issues we've got, and he came in with one, and the referee went, no, that I don't see any issue. It's fine, no problem. They play on, and then a minute later, the TMO came in and said, yeah, good decision. So you brought up the bloody thing in the first place, right? But the yellow, I was a bit. I don't know what Luke Green could have done differently.
Oh, I remember it now. I remember it now.
He was so low. He went in legally. I think his arms are out. Unfortunately, he made contact with the lad's top of his head, and it compressed a bit.
Yeah.
His sort of knees got stuck in the ground, didn't they? Because they were that low down.
It's just mad. The rules, the head contact. I get it. It's for safety, but you see every single contact. A player. Look at Kemeny, just for instance. He'll go down. He'll duck, and he'll go head first into a player. So like you're going to get so many tackles like that, and it's just awkward. We won't talk about the match officials because at that sort of level, it was all right, but I think they need to go back to the old way of where you ref the game. If the TMO sees something really bad, he pops in, because these TMOs are taking over the games now. They're halfway down a pitch, done 10 phases, and like, oh, you need to go back and look at this. Just get on with it. Just get on with the game. You're ruining the game.
I thought the referee had a pretty good game, and
It was all right.
I like I said, he actually sort of, the TMO was taking him down one path, and he went, no, I'm happy with it, and stood up and made his own decision. So I thought it was fine. I just thought that I don't understand what Luke Green could have done other than not enter the ruck.
Yeah.
Because what was he supposed to do? Not clear out, because he couldn't have got any lower. He went in legally. I thought that was. And you talk about the TMOs. Actually, in Super Rugby, which started again this weekend, they've got a new directive for the TMOs not to come in.
Yeah, good.
They want to let the referees referee the game and go to them if they need them. And the referees have now been tasked in Super Rugby, which doesn't mean it's worldwide, but to contribute to the entertainment of the fixture. Which is just nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just referee the game. Entertainment's not your problem, right? Let the marketers deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't dislike that. I think that's still a good directive, though. Of unless you've seen foul play, your job is to do nothing. Because otherwise you otherwise, and the problem is whatever way is right. I don't really have a particular opinion, but it's you need to have TMOs acting to the same standard of when you do and don't come in. I think that's what the problem is. Some TMOs you hear absolutely nothing from, and then some you hear them multiple. I mean, I don't necessarily mind it too much in the PRC, because I always remember that it's a development competition for refs and TMOs and ARs as well. A lot of the time, they're young, they're new, they're learning. That TMO, I didn't recognise him, his name, so I'm assuming he perhaps is also. And I'm not saying he hasn't done it in other games for us before. It just isn't one I remember. When you hear Tempest in the TMO box, whatever. People that you remember from over time. But I don't mind it in the PRC.
I think it was Jackson who does do a lot of the Prem game.
Yeah,
was TMO, but the referee was definitely young.
No, the referee definitely not. Yeah, and sometimes I'm sure I've seen TMO's names where I don't recognise them. So it is also kind of a development opportunity for them, as well as the ref of the TMO to figure out that relationship between the two of them. But I feel like the issue really is that it just isn't the same way of doing it week in, week out, and that's what the problem is. I think that if a knock on or something has been missed at a breakdown, it's been missed. That's just the way that it is. Otherwise, like I said, you just hear the TMO so much of the time. For me, their job is to come in for foul play, and if there's something wrong with a score. Otherwise, I don't see what it adds for them to be nitpicking at every single tiny little thing that happens. And also things get missed, and humans are humans, and humans are going to human. So if a ref misses something, they miss something. If it's in the build up to a try, that's different. The TMO would come in, but otherwise, it's just leave it. Otherwise, it feels like sometimes you're just gonna be there for hours, or it's just gonna. And I don't even think about it from the perspective of the entertainment of the game. Although obviously, being a Saints fan, I'm naturally predisposed to the fast flowing game that doesn't stop and start all the time. But yeah, I think that's the problem at the moment, is more that maybe we need that over here, some kind of directive that's this is the do's and don'ts. This is when you are supposed to come in and when you're not supposed to come in, instead of. Because otherwise it kind of ends up about being the TMO's personality. Is it a TMO that likes to have some kind of authority over the game, or is it one of them that's happy to only come in when asked? And there's differences all the time. And I tend to notice that I feel like quite a lot of the TMOs that like to come in quite a lot tend to be ones that ref as well, because maybe they can't get out of the headspace of needing to have some kind of influence on the game if something has been missed. Maybe that's just their mindset. But yeah, I feel like there needs to be a much clearer kind of this is what your role is specifically to do and what you're specifically not supposed to do.
Yeah, and it's all. I always think it's worse, and I get it because it's more televised. But when it's on TV, because you also, especially when a certain AH is commentating, we won't mention his name and give him any kudos here, but he always picks up something, and then the TMO's like, oh, hang on, oh, they need to look at that, and then he'll go, oh, hang on, we need to look at this. It's just, it shouldn't be anything to do with that. If they've missed it, they've missed it, like Jess just said. Unless it leads to a try or dangerous play, just let the game bloody go, because it's stop, go. Some halves are lasting nearly an hour. It's just ridiculous.
yeah, I mean, I think it's been an example this year really that the TMO is influenced by the match commentary, and that shouldn't be the case.
No, exactly.
The TMO should not be getting the match commentary. They should get the ref link and that
Yeah.
be it. Because
Yeah.
you get natural bias in commentators, and I don't mind it. I don't care. That's humans being humans, you know. Austin Healy played a billion times for Leicester Tigers. He's a Leicester Tiger through and through. I wouldn't expect him to be anything else. So I don't mind that. I don't mind it. That's fine. But I don't want that bias influencing
No,
decisions on a game because that shouldn't be the case.
that's
And you
exactly what
also
I
get
meant.
that referees will make decisions to not penalise something because they want to improve the flow of the game. So, like, if a player comes in from the side, say at a ruck, but the referee, you know, and it should be a penalty, but the scrum half's already got the ball away, or the scrum's gone down and it should be a penalty either way, but the scrum half's all getting the ball away, they sort of let it play on because they don't want to stop that stop-start nature of the game. And the thing is, the referee is feeling that and seeing that, but then the TMO comes in and says, "Oh no, there was something here, something there," and then you got two people coming in making decisions. You're going to get stop start because
Yep.
there is loads of decisions that don't get played in a rugby match or get missed or get chosen to be missed, or whatever. And yeah, yeah. No, I thought that the young referee was really good. I thought the game was good. I thought it was entertainment, etc. I do the green one was an interesting one, and he's not. I'm not saying he was wrong, but I sort of think
It's
sometimes in rugby with the rules where they are, it's like what else could have happened in that environment?
that
Like, you
exactly.
know, what else could have, you know, he's sort of been penalised for clearing out, whereas the player on the floor was in a really bad, unfortunate position. Yeah. But anyway,
I think
let's
the
move on. Sorry.
just to quickly say, I suppose sometimes the
Yeah.
difficulty as well is like it's not supposed to be outcome based, is it? Like it's not supposed to be based on an injury that a player sustains
No.
or whatever. It's supposed to be a bit, but I feel like sometimes, and I don't even know, I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes perhaps it does factor in like unconsciously, like when you've got someone on the floor and it's a really long period of time off and he has to go off on a stretcher because there's genuine concern. I find it hard to believe that like a ref isn't going to somewhere right at the back of his mind, maybe not even knowing that they're doing it. Like perhaps they factor that in slightly of like, this person has been, you know, injured enough at least that there is genuine concern over, the safety of their like head and neck area. That sometimes I think that probably like subconsciously kind of, and I don't blame anyone for that. Like, your subconscious and your unconscious like kind of feeding in is like a very, very common thing in like everyday life. So like, there's probably a part of that that's like this player is seriously injured. Like, I have to make a decision that reflects, that. But I also agree. I feel like I don't necessarily think that like the yellow card was a wrong decision, but I also feel like at the same time you're right. Like, what else is Green supposed to do? Like, you're in a horrible catch-22 situation there where there's no real right sort of answer necessarily. I feel like on balance, could it potentially have just been a penalty? Maybe, yeah. But yeah, I do feel like perhaps the fact that the player was injured and down for a significant amount of time before the decision is made, somewhere perhaps it factors in unconsciously when it shouldn't do really.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that
get that.
100%. 100%. Whenever a player goes down with an actual injury, or in some instances, which we've seen, clutching their head, right? The TMO will review the incident that's caused that to happen because it's like they're
Yeah.
reviewing everything and they see something, they're going to review it. And it's just like, well, yeah, but the thing is, the arm of Green did touch the player's head, so there is foul play. But it's also just really unlucky that that player was in a really weird position
Yeah.
where it sort of compressed them a bit, causing the injury. Like, he hasn't been injured because he's taken, an arm to the head. He's been injured because of the position he put himself into. So
Mhm.
it's just sort of catch-22. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on to Old Flower Scotland,
Do we have to?
and
Please do we have to?
well, I mean,
You saw the message I
yeah,
sent you to after the game. I was not happy, and I'm still not happy. So yeah, can't take it away from Scotland. They were absolutely amazing after last week.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. I had said that like, we've not beaten them there, specifically at Murrayfield for I think that's now like the last 3 times we've not beaten them there. And I was like, everyone's sort of writing off Scotland because of our victory over Wales versus their loss to Italy. I said, you've lost your minds. Like, our win over Wales means nothing. And I say that with all the love in the world to Wales, but it means nothing. Not really. Like, it's not an
yeah,
indication of where any team is right now. And I hate to say that. about people facing Wales, but that is the absolute reality, whether they kind of want to acknowledge it or not. And Scotland losing to a very, very good Italy side only just in Italy, also I wouldn't have said meant this huge thing that they were making of like I was like, you're sort of all kind of crapping on Italy for no reason here by saying that like, oh, like it was so bad that Scotland lost them. Why? Italy are a phenomenal side. Like, you know,
they're that good. They nearly beat Ireland. So in Ireland,
how close they ran Ireland to. I was like, this feels really disrespectful to be like, oh, it's so bad that Scotland lost to Italy. I was like, it's not, but I feel like that was always going to factor into like their response, like, and they just came to play from second one, and yeah, England. It just took England way too long to figure things out. That they just, well, the reality is that look, we've spoken about George Ford before. Yes, he was really, really good over Wales, but it's like you said before, when the team is on the back foot, he's the last 10 in England that you need to get them out of it. And that showed massively. Just he could not get that team on the front foot, like from when they were behind, and then really just kind of highlighted by the charge down drop goal, which was the absolute wrong decision in the moment that got charged down and led. That's what killed off the game at that point. Them scoring that try totally killed that off. They were never coming back from that. But yeah, it was a. I don't know. Everyone else was sort of super surprised by it, and I wasn't really. The only annoying thing, I suppose, is it paves France's way to the Grand Slam, which I hate. But I find it very difficult to see any other realistic outcome to this tournament, unfortunately. But yes, it was not good.
No, it was not good.
I think there's so many things there, right? One is like, I think that the frustration for Scottish fans or fans with Scotland losing to Italy was, it's like, could this be Scotland's year, the golden generation, whatever you want to call it, and they've sort of not done it at the first hurdle. And it's not that they should have been thrashing Italy or Italy a bad team. It's like if they were going to do it, they needed to win, because that's a legitimate challenge now to go to Italy and win, because they're a really good side. And it's like it's almost a failing of Scotland to live up to the hype rather than a detriment to Italy, because it's not a given, but you want them to.
No, but so it's not what the issue is. The issue is whether it's media or players themselves or the fans, whatever. It's like putting all this kind of pressure on Scotland as if they're like the second coming of Christ. Like, they're a good team. I'm not saying that they're not a good team. They're a strong team. Like, we saw that over the weekend. But the whole tournament, with Wales as the exception at the moment, it's so close, and maybe with the exception of France, who are just sort of hit another level again this tournament. But between sort of England, Scotland, Italy, like they're close. They're close together in terms of their ability to win matches and how strong they are right now. So this idea of like, you know, it's definitely Scotland's year, it's this, that, or the other. It's like you're almost like setting yourself up to fail before you started. And then, like you said, they fell at the first hurdle, and so it became this big thing. And I was like, you maybe shouldn't have put so much pressure on it in the first place. Like they said, Italy and Italy, like that's actually a bona fide, really difficult game to win these days.
It's exactly the same as Scotland in Scotland, though, isn't it? It's like that is like a bear.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Like
I would caveat that Scotland lost Italy with they played the second half in a swamp, right?
Yes.
They couldn't play any rugby for the last 20 minutes. So it's like it was such a close game, but the game was killed off after 50 minutes because there was like standing water on the pitch, wasn't there? So it
was crazy.
Don't think I thought we were going to go to Scotland and win easy. It was always going to be a tough game, but yeah, I'm not. You know, I'm not a fan of Mr. Borthwick. We're not going to win the World Cup with him as a coach. Some of his dyslexia, especially as I know you like him, but Itoje as captain, me and you could have done a better job on that pitch. He did nothing, and it speaks massive volumes that he got substituted. Because I think Chesham was coming off for Coles, and they swapped it and brought Itoje off. He did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. And Jess already covered Ford. He, like you said, we've always said it. If he hasn't had front football, he's the wrong person to be on the pitch. So why didn't you bring on Finn earlier? So you can't tell I'm not angry at all here. There's so many things.
The Ford one's so funny because, like, how can we call it like 6 months in advance, and yet the England coaching group don't see it? Like, we've commented on that for ages.
Yeah, it's an issue for him with Sale too. Like 100%. And don't get me wrong, when you're on the front foot, he is
He's class.
absolutely like superb at keeping you there. But the reality is that, and I always said this, like our easiest fixture was always first, right? The Wales fixture was always first. It gets harder from there on, and now it's even harder because we've lost a match and we absolutely have to win the others to pray that we're within, a chance. It's just going to get harder from here on out, and he's not. There's every chance that in all of the other matches that we have to play, like we maybe don't score first, or maybe even we don't score second. Like we may be behind at some point, and the panic is that as soon as that happens, you're stuck. Because Finn came on, and I know people will say, it's Saints bias or whatever, but Finn came on, there was a marked improvement in front foot. It wasn't enough in the end because we were too far behind, but we looked much better, much sharper. I mean, and other members of the bench as well, came on and were at least energetic. But yeah, it was too far gone, wasn't it? Like I said, with the drop goal charge down.
The thing is, when you've got Dingers, Freeman, Mitchell on the pitch playing, why would you not play? I know he hadn't played for a few weeks. Why would you not pick their fly half that he plays with week in, week out? It just, to me, because they literally know each other. It's like they call it the Saints DNA, and I don't get it. I know he hasn't played for ages, so I understood, especially as we played Wales. But this was always going to be a lot harder game because it's Scotland is Scotland, for Christ's sake. Do you know what I mean?
What I would say though, right? I don't think selection is necessarily the issue with that result, right? And Scotland, like what they do and the results that they've got over the last few years, with the resources that they've got, the domestic game that they've got, is actually really, really impressive. They are punching well above their weight, and you got to give credit to Gregor Townsend for that. And adding Radders into that environment is only going to make them better because he's just a force of nature, isn't he? So they are. I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, or I don't intend to, but England should be able to pick 15 players from the top clubs in England and beat Scotland. The level of resources that England have in comparison to what Scotland have is so different. Right, it shouldn't even. England should be at France's level and above as a bare minimum. They're the richest union. They've got a thriving league. Their pathway system is phenomenal. Like the under-20s are consistently successful at any competition they play. And yet, what's the denominator that's causing that they're not performing at that level?
You know what it is? It's the coach. You can have as many good players as you want if you're not being coached correctly. It's the coach. Yeah, I've said from day one, Borthwick is never going to win us anything because he just plays boring rugby. It's not the way we're going
to. I don't think the issue was Borthwick or that it was boring. It's just you even had players that are at the top of their game just had off days. Like Genge is the prime example of going to get the ball, messing it up, and they score a try. Like. Whereas we've seen Genge be able to score tries with crazy skills. Yeah. It was just, sometimes it's just a case of.
You shouldn't be relying on no. I think back and try and save the ball.
I think we can always, as much as it sounds like we're always picking on him, you can always make the argument that Freddie Stewart is not international level quality.
Don't even go. I didn't bring him up.
I think I think that weekend showed it. I said that when his ability in the air is gone. He doesn't. That's his USP, and it was so bad at the weekend. And then you saw like with the ball in hand, he's slow. He doesn't have enough pace. He very rarely is where he needs to be when, like you said, like the fact that Genge was the one that had to try and like to sort that out and then messing it up. Like he should never have been in that position in the first place.
You do realise Genge is probably better than him, which is quite scary.
But there are some people that just, they just had off games for whatever reason, like, and I mean, I don't know what the reason. I really genuinely actually don't think it's anything to do with Borthwick or the style of play because they've got the ability to win, and I think the way they play, they have the ability to win. It just didn't come together for whatever.
It's not style. Reason. It's not style of play, and England should be able to go there and play any game plan and win. It's really not style. It's why going to Scotland and why is it hard to go there, right? Well, it's because Scotland upped their game because of their motivation to beat England. right? It's a motivational factor. The forwards were dominated in all their collisions because Scotland wanted it more, right? And that comes from the leadership group in that environment, and that sets from the coach and the captain, etc. I'm telling you, and I know people have criticism of Eddie Jones, right? But when Eddie Jones and Dylan Hartley were in the leadership group, they would not be outcompeted, right? There is no way they would go to any environment and not want it as much as the opposition, not be fired up as much as the opposition. Whereas you got the feeling from the get-go, Scotland wanted that more than England. They were winning every collision, right? That's
Totally.
not acceptable. Like, that
Well,
sits at Borthwick's door. The motivation is the coach's
Yeah.
job. Getting the environment and the desire to win is the coach's job. Like,
and
international level, it's about arranging things and setting the players out there. They're all quality players, but you have
well,
you have Saints players actively saying on the radio that the coaching they're getting at Saints is better than at England.
it's exactly
And
what. Isn't that what I just said? It's all down to
yeah,
the coaching because you've got world class players that can play the best rugby you will see in the Premiership. They go away with England, and they look awful.
but all I'm saying is, if you had Sean Edwards in that camp,
Oh
would the
God,
forwards be losing collisions?
no, they wouldn't
You know,
allow. They
if you
wouldn't
had
allow. Or Radders, even Radders.
if you had
Why are
Radford
England?
in that camp, would the forwards be losing collisions?
No, because they want to die for them because they literally know they'll get their bottom smacked if they do. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
Well, I just think
mate,
it's an inspiration. I think if Faz was coach of England, they would be quality. I'm sure if you put
that's it.
Steve Borthwick in a dark room with a laptop and let him analyze lineouts,
Oh God, yeah.
he would just be seeing the Matrix, right? And he would be the greatest lineout coach of all time.
Exactly, it's the Norse and that. Yeah, they'll get that.
But
But yeah,
asking him to lead that group,
yeah,
I just don't see it. And I think he got lucky is literally the only word I could think of with that Leicester season,
yeah,
where they had there's a lot of emotion around the group. Players were leaving. Unfortunately, there was sad things happening around
yeah,
players'
exactly.
families and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you almost forgive Leicester of winning the league because of the emotion of it all and the
yeah.
story that it created and everything like that. And that group won that league, and there was a great story and a great thing, etc. In other than Tigers winning the league, that's terrible. But it is what it is. But Borthwick was he was the childminder at the time, and the players went out and won in the league. I don't feel that he was the driving force behind
No,
behind that league win, and yet he got the England job, and he hasn't won anything since.
no, he
It's the
hasn't won a
best
notable
union
away
in the
match.
world.
You
It's the
you name a
best
note.
union in the world.
Yeah, you name a notable away match that he's won. He hasn't won one yet. You can win at home, like the autumn internationals. I know we played the best of the best. We didn't play South Africa, did we? But um, they weren't like convincing. And yeah, I've said it. I've said it from day one because I've watched them up the road. When he was their coach, they don't play rugby that entertains
I
or
will
is
just
going
say,
to win
I
you a
will just
World
say,
Cup.
I say two things though. Like, we could leave it on, I suppose, Borth's doorstep about like motivation, but at the same time, the players have to take some of that responsibility. If you in yourself can't get the motivation just on your own to want to go out and beat Scotland, there's no helping you.
No,
Like
you're right.
that should be an innate thing. It should just be like it seems to be for Scotland, right? Just an innate thing of like,
Yeah.
we really, really want to beat this team. Like,
Uh,
I'm not saying that there shouldn't that the coaches shouldn't take some responsibility for, like you said, like inspiration and stuff. But at the same time, that's got to be something that's within the players. And if it isn't, I don't like they also have to shirk some responsibility for that. I'm not
Of
saying
course
all
they do.
responsibility,
They have,
but
yeah,
the second, I just say the second thing is I think England are shooting themselves in the foot by having a captain and about 100 vice captains. It's one person. You should have one person that's in charge of that because it just muddies the waters too much. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to other voices. I don't mean it in that way. I think people should take leadership responsibilities like they do at Saints, right? You have like a captain, like a clear-cut captain, and you have a couple of other people that, whether it's like Alex Coles for the forwards or someone for the backs, whatever it is. I'm not saying that shouldn't exist, but by listing multiple people actually as vice captains, like you don't have almost like one central figure that you kind of need to have. And I think that's kind of what they're missing. Like, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a Toji, I still think it should, but like you just need to have one I think one central person whose job it is to take charge in that area. And yet they seem to want to have vice captains coming out of the wazoo every single week. And I was like, I don't understand what they think that's adding, because it clearly isn't.
Well, I think there's different teams need different forms of leadership and different forms of
100%,
captain.
yeah.
And Itoje, like he's a great player and he's done great things, but he's not a an orator and a great speaker and motivational speaker in that sense, right? He's right, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and get amongst it and lead from the front.
Yeah.
And that has its value in quite a lot of when you've got a lot of experience in a side, especially. What that side needs is a Dylan Hartley who is a great leader of men in terms of he will do that, but he will also he was a phenomenal speaker, or a Sean Edwards or a Radders, whatever, an emotional driver. And I think that's part of the reason Ford is so heavily involved, because Ford is, the coach on the pitch, whatever you want to call him. He's clearly direction of how he thinks things should be going, and he clearly has no issue saying what he thinks, and which is his skill. I'm not criticizing that. So that's almost, I think, because there's a desperate need for that leadership, that vocalization. They're bringing him in that aspect, but the problem is, if you're forwards, and yet everyone's motivated, everyone's doing their best. It's about those 1% gains, and the Scots were 3% up, and it wiped the floor of England. They weren't winning any collisions. If you had, you need to get the messaging right, and we've seen it at Saints when we have, a fixture against a mid-table team when we're looking beyond them, whatever, and the performance is just so abject to what we expect it to be. And it must be a motivational thing. But then you've also seen sometimes when you hear from what they've been talking about in the week, etc., that they just get the messaging right and they buy into one thing, whether that's scrum dominance or collisions or whatever it may be, and they just get that buy-in on that one particular piece, and it transforms the side in a week, whatever. Like, they're the same players, they've got the same motivations. It's just getting that buy-in at the right pinch, and that's a skill, and that's a leadership piece that I think even Borthwick knows he doesn't have. I just don't think he can actually get. That's why he brought Kevin Sinfield in, because Kevin Sinfield is what a bloke, and what an inspirational person, but also he's supposedly an excellent communicator in groups and getting to know people, and has those real personal skills, which Borthwick recognises he doesn't necessarily have. But what he needs to recognise is he needs a Radders or a Edwards, someone who can come in and just give that emotional impact into that group, because they don't seem to have ever had it.
They could have. Why didn't they? Scotland rang up Saints and they've got Radders. Why didn't England? Do you know what I mean? It's not then. They just don't seem. They've got their old ways and they want to do it their old way. It's just. It just winds me.
But how many coaches? How many coaches does he need to go through till he's had so many coaches, bringing in so many people.
Mate, you don't even need to go there.
They definitely need to. They do need to find out what the issue is and kind of what they could do to solve it, because the reality is he is the coach through to the World Cup, and they're not changing now, because that would. No. I think that would be crazier than not changing now.
I think you need 2 years is more than enough. Les Kiss is coming for Australia, and it's like, it's going to be perfect, just the perfect time.
But I mean, irrespective of whether you think they should or shouldn't, I just don't think they will.
They won't.
I think they'd rather go for stability. I say that in quotes, whatever that looks like. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the only positive really is that I think all 7 of them are on the pitch at one point. All 7 of the Saints lads are actually together all at one time, which is crazy. Like, absolutely crazy in terms of, I thought 6 players out of the 23 is a lot, and then they chuck Finn in after we say he'll never get selected.
Yeah, all 3
because obviously all 3 of us we won't see him, and now I'm actually more confident that we might see him from next week onwards, ironically.
He should be starting.
But he was covering he came on covering centre.
I didn't get that.
What the hell? They made, the problem is absolutely love to see Finn in there, but they also made the mistake of not having he's not a cover like that.
He's not,
and as much as well, not even that, any of them, and I know people will say this about Marcus Smith a lot, but he is a bona fide cover for this. I'm not saying they should have. That's not what I mean. But like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, they had him come on
yeah.
at centre, and ironically, it actually looked like he played a bit more of the 10 role in certain aspects. Like it's kind of tried to, but yeah, he came on as centre, and then Tommy to the wing and everything and moving around. And but no, to me, I think you need to start Finn, and I think there's it's an interesting conversation that seems to have changed around Pollock. That all of a sudden it's gone from he's really great in terms of coming on and making an impact, and now the conversation has switched to you need to start him, because instead of having him do what he does for 25 minutes when a game is lost, you need him doing that for 60 minutes to help you win one. So I wonder what's going to happen, because I think that and this is nothing against them individually because they've been absolutely outstanding in other matches, but like Guy Pepper and Underhill in that game just didn't add anything.
No.
I mean, I know he came off at Underhill. I feel like you'd probably still play Underhill because of his defensive ability when it's working. Like he's the best tackler in the world when he's on it on his day, right? Maybe you swap him out for Pepper because there's no way. I think you'd be mad to take Earl out as well. So you know
you can't have a back row of Pollock, Earl, and Underhill. It's the shortest back row ever created. Like which one of them are you chucking up in the line out? Right? You just can't do it. that Pepper's a good line out option. So you drop Earl or Underhill. You can't have three back rowers that I mean Pollock's actually grown. He's taller than you think.
Yeah.
But he's grown in the last year for sure. But he's not a 6'5" Goliath who's going to be a line out option.
But no, you know. Yeah, it'd be interesting what they do next week, because at this point, like the Grand Slam's gone, like, and let's be honest, I feel like winning the tournament's probably gone if we were ever going to in the first place with France playing how they're playing. Like at this point, you might as well just chuck something at the wall and hope it sticks, like, and just see what might happen. Like you know, you've now switched from we want to try and win this tournament to perhaps it's going to be quite difficult to do that. So maybe we have to actually start trying to understand what is the best for the team going forward. I mean, we'll say this now, and it'll be the opposite of last week. We'll go, yeah, we'll definitely start Finn, and everyone we've just talked about would disappear off the face of the earth, probably, knowing the likelihood of it. But yeah, just to see 7 of them on there all at one time, and then like Big Trev, you know, we've talked about it before. I love that man, but also, you know, he's just signed to stay. Like, just to continue to highlight how insane the business at the club have been doing this year is, you know, from sort of very self-admitting, you know, saying that it's going to be really difficult to keep all of them, to all of a sudden them putting in all of the work to keep an insanely large contingent of those guys staying. Like, the people we've managed to re-sign this year, like, is out of this world, to be fair to the club. And, like, there's got to be a huge part of it about, like, because I think we always think, oh, they're going to go where the money is. And we don't know the ins and outs, so maybe all of them have had their wages increased, maybe they haven't, we simply don't know. But like I feel like certainly to keep that many of them, despite the fact that we obviously try to keep under the sort of cap if we can, like obviously just speaks to how much they are loving being at Saints at the moment. Like there's got to be atmosphere, and like the fun that they're having and the level they're playing has got to factor in as much as kind of the money, because at the end of the day they've all got international you know, wants, haven't they? And what better a club to be at, like with the 7 of them playing to even prove it, what better club to be at to push yourself into those kinds of questions, you know. Also counting the under-20s, like incredible performance from James Pater, like in the highlights I saw for England under-20s, like that try was ridiculous, like the one that he scored, like, you know, those Hendy off at England A, like all of them there, like, you know, what better place to be right now than Northampton if you want to play. And that's not even just for England. Like you said, Miller Mills going on to play for Scotland, Rory going on to play for Scotland, like Todaro before the unfortunate injury, you know, it was how he played with us that, you know, got him that opportunity. Like, so yeah, they're doing just such amazing business, and I'm so excited to see more Big Trev. I love Big Trev.
But that's the thing, when it has success, that we're doing so well that players want to stay, and then obviously that's going to cost you money. The only one I'm not a bit worried about isn't Rami up for contract renewal. He's the only one that hasn't been announced, because we know Ferbs is going. Hasn't been announced, but we know he's going. So Rami's got to be the next one this week. Would be nice, please, Saints, if you're listening.
Yeah, I think if you want to play international rugby, you know, Big Trev's is a really good example. Miller Mills is a great example. You that Northampton is the place to be, because you come to Northampton and you improve as a rugby player. And like Big Trev didn't play his first professional game until he was 25, and he's now got pushing double caps. He's going to hopefully get to double international appearances. What a lad he is. It's just a great story. I mean,
and also he's sorry, just to say, he's like Baddy as well. Like, he hasn't been selected, but he's in that camp getting experience, right? Like even the ones that aren't playing.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, we mentioned him, Sam Graham. Was maybe a year or two ago, before his injury, he was so unlucky not to be included in some of those England camps, because he was outperforming most number 8s in the league consistently. He was keeping Augustus out of the Saints side. Like, he was top draw, and the selection at whatever, let's ignore it.
Well, no, I'd say the same
so
as well. Like, I'd say the same about that Pearson. Like, the way he's been playing, the way not just this season but in the past, like, to not get called up, and obviously it just showcases the talent in England, to be fair. But I mean, look, it wasn't.
They should be winning every game of rugby they play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all right, Charles. We know.
It wasn't the result that the 7 of them wanted, but the fact that literally the way that it all worked out with the subs, that I think all 7 of them were physically on the pitch at one time, is crazy.
Yeah,
it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you ask me what England's back row should be, it should be Coles, Earl, and Pollock. But yeah, that's just a side note.
I would totally go with that.
I would go with that, because you get to. I know that people have their own opinion about Itoje, but it also means that Itoje still plays, and so does Chesham, who I also thought. I think Chesham was probably the standout for England at the weekend.
He might be for them up the road, but yeah, I totally agree. He was everywhere, and he is a phenomenal player.
He was so good. He was really good.
You can then unleash Underhill or Pepper off the bench. You can have two back rows on the bench, can't you? But anyway, let's just cover off quickly Newcastle Red Bulls away, because we need to crack on. But I mean, it's the same with everything. It's very hard to I'm actually really enjoying this tournament, PRC. It's a shame that I don't think that's going to be televised, that game, and I'm not travelling up to Newcastle to watch it. But I would be really excited to watch it, because it's been such an entertaining, good tournament, really, hasn't it? There's been no real dominant teams in either of the pools. Like, you don't know who's going to be in the semi-finals necessarily. You might have some ideas of where it might go, but there could be a shock. So we could lose to the next 2 and not get in. That could well happen. I think the side would be very similar.
Yeah, probably. I think the only team I think that I suppose is Leicester. Like, 9 points clear of us in second. They only need to win one more, essentially. That they're probably going to be through. But the other pool A, is crazy close between Gloucester, Bath, and Exeter. And then but it's literally between us and Sarries, really, isn't it? Out of who's going to come second in that, because there's a drop off from 20 points down to Newcastle in 11. So we've got a really good opportunity to. My maths from last week, where I decided that only 2 people play in the semi-finals because I can't do maths. But yes, we definitely we have like a really good shot to kind of get through. So we can win away. But it will be hard, because Newcastle, I mean, they've played 6-1-2, so they're not quite where they. But at the end of the day, that's probably going to be a fairly first team Newcastle team, and they're going to be played against the team that are top of the Prem. There's probably a statement to be made for them there. So there's every opportunity that's a kind of bogey team this Friday for us, just in the way that things are. But
because it's like they're out of it, really, but it doesn't mean they're not going to win.
No, 100%. Yeah.
It's it's such a good tournament for that. Each game, and it's almost its own little micro game in its own self, and the tables will end up where they end up, but each game is almost a separate piece, because the selection differs for home and away, and et cetera, et cetera. I think we'll be largely the same. I think you might see the likes of maybe Ed Prowse coming in. Someone like that who's played a lot of rugby, was rested against Quins away, but he might come into the mix.
You're going to start Sam. You're going to start Sam against his new club.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, he had such a good impact off the bench, and
exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, and
he's got to get game time, because he's not playing in the Prem, is he? So you got to really.
But that's the thing. He might, he's playing so well that he should be. Like, it gives him, he's a good example of a player who is coming back from injury, a long-term injury, played quite a few minutes in the Prem, but not started necessarily. He has started some games, but then absolutely smashes this tournament, and then you get back to the Premier, like, oh God, there's so many options. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we went pretty strong against Saracens. And that's if we win that game, we're pretty much into the semi-final. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised if you see the players come back, the JJ, Pearson, Chick, Kennedy,
Yeah.
etc., into that fixture because it's just ahead of the Prem sort of vibe,
Yeah.
and get into a
Yeah.
quarter.
So
That's essentially a quarter final. So you could go quarter final,
yeah,
semi final, final
fine.
into a
Yeah.
Newcastle Prem game.
And
And build
I
some
might be
momentum.
wrong as well, but is there not some rule in this tournament that to play in the knockouts you have to have played in the pool stages, like the specific individual players? There's some kind of rule around that.
So I
So
think so.
you
Yeah.
also you also quite simply want to get some of those out for the game against Saris, because then if you do progress, you might want them. I still think there's pros and cons to sticking with the team that got you there. But also you've also got to think like if there is a semi-final and there potentially is a final, like you also want to get players playing before the Prem does return. So I think it would probably be a smart option to get some of them back in for Saris, because then, like I said, if you do have at least one more game, let's say with the semi, we don't know what might happen there. Like you wouldn't be able to play them if you didn't, and they're going to start needing minutes at some point
Yeah,
potentially. So
it's not so much to win the game; it's to just get the minutes and form into back into
yeah,
the Prem.
100%. Yeah, yeah.
So like, it's not like I'll play JJ because we're desperate to win that game. It's a case of, well, what puts us in the best position to go into a good
Yeah,
run of form
exactly.
back into the Prem.
Yeah,
We know how
Um,
poor we know how poor we are. Like we did last week. We know how poor we are when we rest people. They always just seem to be rusty, and it takes them over a half to get back into the game. So leaving them for like 3 or 4 weeks and not having any match time, that's not going to work, is it?
and that's why you might
no.
just stack the bench. Just
Yeah.
have the same team that
Yeah.
played all these games to keep them going because they're going so well, and then
Particularly if
stack
you're
the
gonna,
bench.
yeah, sorry, especially if you're gonna have like JJ, etc. Like probably some of them definitely will be featuring for that Newcastle game in the Prem.
Yeah,
Um, you need to build form back up for that as well. Like, obviously it's a home game to Newcastle, and again, we're all sort of assuming it's a foregone conclusion, which could come back to bite us as we've seen. But
Yeah.
you are going to want, once that Newcastle game is done, because you're not going to have the England contingent back for that anyways. You're going to need some of them regardless, but you want as many of them back in good form as you can, because we've seen what happens when the England contingent come back. That, like, if you can have your Locketts, your JJs, your Sam Grahams, like all these people, you can get them, even Pearson, etc., and all of those. If you can get them to a good level, it's certainly going to help, perhaps try and offset what may be a bit of a hangover when the England lads eventually do come back. So, yeah,
it's also managing that period as well, because well, this is what happened last year when we played Ealing in the knockout and lost, and then there was like an enormous gap till the Premiership came back. You want
yeah,
to progress in this tournament so you can keep playing fixtures, so you can keep people playing. Because otherwise, if we lose to Newcastle and Saracens and fall out of this tournament, there's no match for a month.
yeah, yeah.
And suddenly, like, oh, do we need to arrange some trainings or training matches or whatever?
Another
Because
match, yeah, exactly,
yeah,
yeah,
another match because it's too long a period not to have played rugby, and it's like you
yeah,
almost want to, like, you could send the kids up to Newcastle again, keep that team going, and kids is the wrong word. The team, keep this team going up to Newcastle,
yeah,
drop the bigger players into the set home game against Sarries potentially on the bench, then win that, and then have a couple of games, try and get a couple more games with the team to
yeah,
hit that Newcastle. And it's, we're lucky this year because that's the same way it was a couple when we won the year. We had Newcastle coming back out of the Six Nations, and
yeah,
Newcastle at home after the Six Nations is the best fixture you can hope for, and it helped us
yeah.
massively
Stop.
win the league.
Stop
Right.
doubting
Whereas
chickens.
last year it was the worst game we could have possibly hoped for, and we got absolutely trashed, didn't we? So, like, these bits of luck along the way massively in the course of the season.
Yeah, but particularly as the weekend after that is Sarries at Tottenham Hotspur, which I will be there.
Yeah,
But,
I will be there
it's
as
another
well.
it's another away game. Unfortunately, before then I've got to watch England at Twickenham next week against Ireland. I'm actually going to be there.
Why?
So
Unfortunately, that'll be a good game.
I hope so.
Struggling.
Fighting for mid-table
better be.
mediocrity in that tournament,
All I know is it's a good thing about having all the Saints players, because they basically beat Ireland where we beat Leinster. So you need as many of them on that pitch as possible. They know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what the best thing? You know what the best thing to do? England beat Ireland. Farrell gets the sack, we then sack Borthwick and we take Farrell. There we go.
We take him, yeah. They swap.
And then we go to the World Cup and have a coach that actually can G us up. Then we might win the thing.
I would say the odds on that happening are about 1,000,000 to 1.
Less than 0. Yeah.
He's a proud Englishman, though.
How did we?
Yeah. Old O'Farrell, yeah.
O'Farrell, yeah. How did we do on? I can't remember what the predictions were for last week.
Right,
I know
so,
that my try scorer didn't score, so I know that.
No,
I should get a bonus point for that run.
For that run, yeah. So none of us got. We all got the result. None of us got the margin.
Right.
None of us got a try scorer, but I think I should get the point because Pater scored 2 tries for the under-20s, and so he scored on the night. Wasn't that
different match, different team, different tournament, different level.
Well, I just said Pater was going to score, and I was right. But I mean, ultimately, it was a dead heat because of that. So we all got the results right, but none of us got try scores and dead heat again. I mean, this week is going to be a difficult pick. It's me to start. I'm going to go 26-21 because I'm just going to back this group to keep the momentum going. Newcastle have started to rotate the squad and play their wider squad in this tournament.
Right.
Unlike when they played us at Pardon?
You're losing.
Oh no, sorry, 21-26.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I said that result and then talked about Saints winning, but yeah, no, 21-26. Because Newcastle are starting to rotate their squad a bit in this tournament. I think we've proven that this group doing really well, and especially on the road. If you look at the Bath away game, which was a lot of this group, and last week, being on the road seems to be. I'm really cursing us here, but on the road seems to be actually something we've turned a corner on. And this year's away performances have been so much better than last year. So I'm going to go with that. And the try scorer, I will go with Ollie.
Okay.
Jess.
Yeah, I was going to say Ollie scored, didn't he? And didn't even crack a smile, as per usual. So
scores.
he was in the same frame of mind, yeah. He never smiles. I'm going to go... I'm going to go bigger, I think. 21-42. Try score. Well, as soon as he seems to be scoring tries for fun, I'm going to have to nab Archie, aren't I?
Damn it, you just took mine.
He won't score now because that's the way it seems to work, but he's on an insane hot streak over the whitewash, so I'm going to have to go with him.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, 18-35 and Rami.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I mean, you two are not too far away. I've obviously gone for a closer game. I bet the weather's going to be awful as well, so I bet that helps me. But
plastic pitch.
It always is.
Pitch.
Oh yeah, plastic pitch. Ooh, that makes things worse, I think. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting. It's such a shame that these games aren't all watchable. Whether it be on YouTube or on the streaming or not, because there's such.
I mean, I know we sound. Well, no, yeah. I mean, we sound like biased, but I think the game against Quids and the game against Leicester were genuinely just good games to watch.
The Quins was a good game to watch. The Tigers game was a great game to watch for us.
Yeah.
Not sure neutral would got out of
it. maybe not. Yeah, but definitely that Quins one, that was really competitive and really well fought between the two. So yeah, it's sort of a shame that it feels like some of this young talent genuinely deserves to be seen by a wider sort of audience. But yeah, it kind of is what it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah, even when the Leicester game away in this was on YouTube, at least you could watch it and you just accept because it's on YouTube, the commentary is not going to be the slickest, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter. You're not actually paying a subscription or anything. You don't need it to be, but at least you can watch it.
You heard Lenny Newman. I'm joking. I love Lenny. I said, have you heard Lenny Newman with Graham? I'm really joking, Lenny. If you're listening, I love you.
Yeah, Lenny's great. He's a legend of the club. But sometimes when he makes comments like, "Can't they just push a bit harder?" You're like,
Yeah.
I mean, the game's moved on a bit, but he's club legend, isn't he? For sure. Yeah. But anyway, thank you very much for listening, everyone. That was been we've gone on a bit. It was a good chat though. And I always expected the England sort of chat to spill over a bit, so it is what it is. But thank you for listening. I've been Charles, Simon's been Simon, Jess has been Jess. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.